And happy new year, everybody. It is the Greg Cherry Show back again for another episode. And yeah, I'm by myself for the time being. It's very interesting. But we are going to get into a lot of good stuff today. I am, of course, your host, Greg Cherry. You know who I am. I mean, the freaking show is named after me. You don't need my display name. So, we're going to get into some good talk today. We are going to talk, of course, about what's on today's show. We're going to talk about American football and wrestling. I mean, we're winding down in the American football season. So for those of you who don't watch the NFL or college football, it's almost over. Okay, we're getting there. We'll be able to get into different topics and bring back some old segments after the football season is completely over. Talking about some Weird Law Wednesday, Arkansas edition. I don't believe we've done Arkansas before. So today we're hitting that good old Southern state. And of course, your Wednesday Q and A. So let's get into it. Talking about some American football. Yes, I know Notre Dame got eliminated by Alabama in the playoffs. It was frustrating. It was very, very frustrating for me. But I hate to say it, I kind of expected it. They weren't going to stop Alabama's offense. They held them to 31 points, which is saying a lot considering how badly Alabama has blown out other teams. So I guess that's a positive. But then Clemson got destroyed by Ohio State, which I quite frankly did not expect. So Alabama and Ohio State for the national championship coming, what is it? Monday, I believe. And then the college football season will be over. And of course, I was on the Gridiron Grapple yesterday, Big G's new show, talking about the playoffs. Playoffs for the NFL. And of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers get to main event the playoffs as far as this weekend's concerned by facing off against the Cleveland Browns. And they seemingly don't have their stuff together. There's a lot of COVID stuff going on with the Browns. Kevin Stefanski is not even going to be there for the game. I wonder if he'll be able to coach via like a headset or something or remotely. But it'll be interesting. Cleveland did beat the Steelers this past Sunday, 24-22. But it's going to be a completely different atmosphere with the playoffs, with Big Ben Roethlisberger returning, with TJ Watt returning. It's going to be a good game. It's probably going to be the best game of the three. Even though Sunday's game, Mason Rudolph did pretty well in relief of Roethlisberger. Now, Big Ben wasn't hurt. It was just one of those, hey, we're going to sit you for the game, rest you up, make sure you don't get hurt. So it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup between the two. And I just want to look at the rest of the bracket because obviously I talk a lot of Steelers football. But I want to talk about some of the other teams. The Indianapolis Colts against the Buffalo Bills. I predicted this one would be the Buffalo Bills wiping the floor with the Colts. I mean, they owned Miami's souls on Sunday, did the Bills. And this could be one of, if not the strongest Bills teams I've seen in my lifetime. They're going to definitely give Kansas City a run for their money as far as the AFC champion is concerned. And as much as I believe the Bills are going to win, I kind of want the Colts to win just so Pittsburgh's playing, assuming they get past the Browns, the winner of the Baltimore game, which I'll talk about that in a little bit. The NFC also has the Rams and the Seahawks playing on Saturday. And it's hard to bet against Russell Wilson. It really is. Even after all these years, it's still hard to bet against Russell Wilson. And we're going to get into a little bit more of that as the week progresses. But yeah, I see the Seahawks beating the Rams here too. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It could be a very powerful performance from the Rams, but they're definitely going to need one because the Seahawks are no pushovers. Tampa Bay versus the Washington football team. It's, I mean, it's Tom Brady versus a team from the NFC East. Washington, congrats for making the playoffs, but you don't have a prayer. Honestly, the Buccaneers are going to run roughshod over you. It's just going to happen. Be happy you won the division, the worst division in NFL history, the 2020 NFC East. Congrats. It's like shooting fish in a freaking barrel. But you're not getting past the Buccaneers. You're just not. Sorry to say. Now, the Ravens and the Titans game is going to be, that one's going to be a fun one to watch. Titans already have a win over the Ravens this season, too. So can they keep that up? Can they do it again? Is the question. I mean, Lamar Jackson is playing balls to the walls right now. He finally woke up from his offensive coma and started playing like the Ravens quarterback of last year. Is it too little, too late? Or is he getting hot at the right time? Part of me wants the Titans to win because I don't want to face the Ravens again. But of course, facing the Ravens again would mean either the Steelers win, they beat Buffalo, and the Ravens make it to the AFC Championship, or the Indianapolis Colts upset the Bills and the Ravens win and the Steelers win. It's definitely it's a long way to go, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Regardless, I think I picked the Titans in this one. No, you know what? I think I picked the Ravens to win. I don't want the Ravens to win, but I think I picked them. The Chicago Bears against the Saints. I think this was the one I picked an upset. I picked the Bears to upset the Saints. I mean, they lost to Green Bay, but everybody's losing to Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is playing on another freaking level right now. That's why they got the bye. I think the Bears beat the Saints. It's an upset pick. I don't have many of them, but that's one of them. And of course, I talked about the Browns and the Steelers. Let's see what you guys think. Obviously, Colin going for the Browns. I mean, we split the series on the season, so let's meet in the playoffs. Mike Gonzalez says Bills in a blowout. I believe that too. He says Phillip Rivers is too old, in my opinion. Poor Phillip Rivers. Poor Phillip Rivers. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's good enough to take a team through the regular season, but not through the playoffs. He's just never been a playoff guy. Bobby says Bills are taking the Super Bowl. That's very possible. The Bills are a scary team right now. And Mike Gonzalez also says, I think the Titans win. I don't see the Ravens stopping Henry. Yeah, Derrick Henry is a freaking beast. He's proven that time and time again. What is it with those Alabama players? There's something in the water in Tuscaloosa. I mean, I'm glad we have Minkah Fitzpatrick for us, but somehow all of them turn out to be studs, which is annoying in the college game, but if they're on your team in the NFL, it's fine. Josh Allen is a beast. Yes, he is. He absolutely is. Cleaver says, thoughts on Urban Meyer? Has the Jacksonville job been filled? I heard that rumor that Urban Meyer might go to Jacksonville. I also saw the post that says Urban Meyer is all elite, which is kind of the running joke with the Jaguars because Tony Khan owns the Jacksonville Jaguars as well as AEW. If he comes out to coach Jacksonville, then good for the Jaguars. I mean, they need a solid coach. Doug Marrone got fired, so whatever. I mean, whatever makes teams better, they got to do it. Tim Davis says Green Bay to win the NFC. Also definitely possible. Like I said, Rodgers is playing on a completely different level, a level we haven't seen probably in 10 years, which is the last time they won a Super Bowl, which hurts me to say because the Super Bowl they won was against Pittsburgh. But we'll see if good old Mr. Discount Double Check ends up getting his second ring. So that's as far as, I mean, I briefly talked about college, Ohio State and Alabama. Part of me just wants Ohio State to beat Alabama just to screw everybody up as far as college goes. It's so frustrating being a fan of college, being a fan of a college team that makes it so close, but can't break into that upper echelon. Especially a team that beat the number one team in the regular season. Which, speaking of, Trevor Lawrence declared for the NFL. So he's done at Clemson. Which could be a big deal as far as the ACC is concerned in future years. And who knows? Maybe Trevor Lawrence gets taken by Jacksonville. I don't know. But typically I go into football talk and wrestling talk a little bit more. I mean, we can talk about wrestling. I've got my Royal Rumble retrospective coming out fairly soon. I have it all written down. I just need to put it together and film it. But I watched 47 different Royal Rumble matches. Royal Rumble rules matches, I guess I should say. And some of them were very loosely structured. Others of them, obviously, the annual match. But including the televised matches, including one with WCW, 47 of them. So stay tuned for that, because it's going to be... It may end up being a controversial list. Because I ranked all of these on a 5-scale system. Like on a 5-point system. All the way up to 500 points. You'll see. It's hard to explain. I haven't written down the explanation, but it's hard to explain my categories for how I graded stuff. And I graded them immediately after watching them. And I did not look at the scores for any other match. It was a very tough thing to do. Going back to college football, Mike Gonzalez, is Notre Dame staying in the ACC or are they going back to being an independent program? I'm guessing a lot of that depends on whether or not the COVID stuff is done. Because if it's not, then they might stay in the ACC for another year. I see it as Notre Dame's going back to being an independent. They proved they could hang in a conference. So anybody who says, oh, Notre Dame needs to join a conference, so they wouldn't be able to hang in a conference. They freaking went undefeated in the regular season. They were the only team in the ACC to do that. Yes, they lost in the ACC title game. Yes, they lost in the first round of the playoffs. But for a regular season, that's what matters to get you to the playoffs. What do you want me to say? They probably enjoyed the flexibility of scheduling more as an independent than you would in the ACC, because you have to schedule ACC opponents in the ACC. You don't get that flexibility of scheduling like you do as an independent. But it remains to be seen. I think they go back to being an independent. They really have nothing else to prove on the conference front. And with this year saying that, hey, Ohio State can get in their conference championship, that's going to be very controversial if Ohio State actually ends up winning the national championship. It's going to be a point of contention that Ohio State only played 5 games to get in their conference championship, and the Big Ten changed the rules around so Ohio State could play. If they end up winning the national title because of it, oh boy, controversy. And you know what? I kind of hope it happens just to shove it up the NCAA's rear. Be like, hey, you brought this on yourself. You deal with the consequences. Because college football needs turned on its ear. I'm sick of Alabama and Clemson running the show. And yes, Clemson's already gone. But I'm sick of Alabama being at the top 4 every single freaking year. It's annoying. Cleaver. Speaking of the Rumble, with the rumors of Jay White's exit for New Japan, could we see him as a surprise entrant in this year's Rumble? I doubt that soon. And I don't know what the travel restrictions are from Japan to America, so I doubt we see Jay White. I doubt we see him in the WWE, especially at the Rumble. If this were a regular year, the possibility of that might come up, but it's not a regular year. It's Tim Davis. Who should be the new Chargers head coach? I mean, look at your coaching pool out there. Who do you got? It's probably not going to be Urban. You need to find somebody who is going to take the Chargers to the next level. Maybe you don't look at a coach that's recently fired. Maybe you look to college. Maybe you look to the NCAA and try and see, hey, what coaches in here are running successful programs and who can we bring here? There's a lot of coaching options. So it's hard to say what the needs are in LA for the Chargers. There's a lot of options. I'm not going to say one way or the other who the Chargers get as their next coach. But they need to find somebody. Maybe they hire internally. I don't know. They need to find somebody who is built on success and who is going to continue that success. Tim Davis also says, do you think that most of the NFL divisions need a shakeup? No, the divisions are fine. I just think the NFC East was hot garbage this year because they played terribly. Mike Gonzalez says, as a Penn State fan, I'm sick of Ohio State always dominating. We've been so close at beating them a few times the past few years, but failed. Didn't you guys upset them? And my family's Penn State fans too. Most of my family, like my family on my dad's side, because they live out that way. I could have sworn you guys like upset Ohio State fairly recently. Maybe it's been longer ago than I thought, but I typically don't pay attention to Big Ten football unless Notre Dame's playing them, honestly. But there you go. There's your football and wrestling talk. Royal Rumble's coming up. I'm looking forward to it. Will there be any surprise entrants? I hope so. I hope they get some surprise entrants. I'm playing with pretzels right now because it's 2016. Thank you. I knew it was like in the last few years somewhere, but 2016 was the last time Penn State beat Ohio State. So we're going to go on now to some Weird Law Wednesday, Arkansas edition. And I got there aren't a ton of laws, weird laws for Arkansas, but they're pretty pretty interesting. 1 second, I'm going to take a bite of a pretzel and you won't be able to hear it. Bobby says Marty Skrull for the Rumble. I doubt it. He's got his own problems right now. I doubt you see him in any major promotion, maybe ever. And Kyle says hard to top Edge returning last year. That's very possible. And Bobby says I should do a Weird Law Canada edition. Cal says, how about Tessa debuting? That would be interesting. Tessa Blanchard debuting in the Rumble. I could see it happening. We have not heard anything from Tessa Blanchard in months. So for her to show up in likely the Women's Royal Rumble would be pretty big news. I think it would be cool to see her. Maybe have a stare down with Charlotte, because Charlotte's in the Rumble. Have a little horseman daughters going after each other. That'd be kind of cool. And Gary says, Greg, what are your thoughts on Ohio State being in the title game? I don't think a 6-win team should have made the playoff. It's like I said, they didn't have 6 wins when they made their conference championship. And that was a very controversial decision by the Big Ten to do that. So if they end up winning the national championship, it's going to cause a lot of controversy. Now, I didn't think Ohio State was going to survive Clemson, and they ended up owning their souls. So it's very hard to say. But I'm kind of pulling for Ohio State because I don't want Bama to win the national title again. Combat Wrestling Trivia says the whole NCAA football playoff system is a joke. Arguable. It was a weird year, though. In a normal year, you'd be able to tell who the top teams were. But there's a lot of name value in teams like Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson and Notre Dame, quite frankly. The thing I don't like about the playoff system is that teams could have 1-loss records, but it depends when you lose where you're ranked. The whole bracket thing is very much a what have you done for me lately? And I don't like that. It should be. It's very hard with so many different conferences and so many different places to determine where all these teams should rank. And a lot of it is the eye test. It's not great. So let's get into these weird laws. Then you guys can ask me some more questions as far as wrestling or football or anything else is concerned. Here we go. The Arkansas River can rise no higher than to the Main Street Bridge in Little Rock. We policing bodies of water now in Arkansas? Is that what we're doing? How exactly can you enforce that? Build some dams. What are you telling the Arkansas River? Just be like, hey, you're getting too close to the Main Street Bridge. Go back down. That's not how rivers work. hate to tell you. A law provides that school teachers who bob their hair will not get a raise. Huh? So you tell me that you could have the greatest teacher in the history of the land, but they bob their hair and they're stuck not getting paid or not getting a pay raise? What kind of ridiculous thing is that? Who cares what their hairstyle is? As long as they're teaching the kids, as long as they're doing their job. What a weird thing. Oh boy. Also in Arkansas, a man can legally beat his wife, but not more than once a month. Why? Why is that a thing? Somebody go back in the Arkansas law books and fix that one. Also in Arkansas, alligators may not be kept in bathtubs. Darn, guess I'm not moving to Arkansas. Where am I going to put my gators? Why would you keep an alligator in a bathtub anyway? I understand they need water, but leave them outside. Don't keep them as pets. In Fayetteville, Arkansas, it is illegal to kill any living creature. So I guess if you do this with a fly, it's illegal. If you do that with a plant, like that would be terrible if you got arrested for killing a plant. You're like, I'm not agree with gardening. Oh, well, that's illegal. Where's the line, guys? Where's the line? In Little Rock, Arkansas, no one may suddenly start or stop their car at a McDonald's. So you can't like brake check somebody in a McDonald's drive-thru? Well, what's the fun in that? Can't wait till somebody's going 40 miles an hour trying to order a Big Mac and slamming on their brakes. Also in Little Rock, dogs may not bark after 6 p.m. Who is making these laws that are applying to either, first of all, they're applying to rivers, and now they're applying to non-humans? You can't exactly enforce those. Good luck putting cuffs on a dog. I can barely put my dog's harness on without him squirming. Flirtation between men and women on the streets of Little Rock may result in a 30-day jail term. So if you're walking down the street in Little Rock, don't be hitting on people. I mean, it's a weird place to hit on anybody anyway in the streets of Little Rock, but shouldn't be a 30-day jail term. Hey, baby, how you doing? Oh, you know how I'm doing? You're arrested. Why? Why? Also in Little Rock, it is unlawful to walk one's cow down Main Street after 1 p.m. on Sunday. Well, good. Somebody's taking care of those damn cow walkers. Now, the thing is, you better not be walking a cow down Main Street after 1 p.m. on Sunday and hitting on somebody. That's a double whammy. Of course, if you're hitting on somebody with a cow in tow, makes me wonder what your pickup line is. Actually, I don't want to know. Want to see an udder? I like what? How would you exactly do that smoothly? And finally, get your questions ready. Not for this particular law, but just in general. Because I'm not answering questions about this one. Oral sex is considered to be sodomy. Good night. That's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. Those are completely two mutually exclusive things. Those are not the same thing. I'm not exactly going to give a lesson on those. If you know, you know. But those two are not even close to the same thing. Arkansas, get it together. That's all for the weird laws of Arkansas. I think we've had enough of those. Now I'll be taking a couple Q&As. My goodness. How is every week of Weird Laws the weirdest week of Weird Laws? How is that possible? That they just get stranger? Just to let you know, I'll be changing the background here real quick. See if you can hear me. Oh, that's not what it is. I guess I can't put that up. Wrestling Trivia Challenge. Yeah, that is coming up. The tournament is starting next Friday. I'll just leave that up while I'm talking about it. Wrestling Trivia Challenge. The bracket is starting next Friday with the triple threat match between Jeff Meacham, Chris Cass, and David Diaz. The three former champions face each other in the first round of that tournament. That is coming up next Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern, on the Greg Cherry brand, on the Jeff Meacham Network, and on the NoDQ.com channel. I have been reaching out to other people to get their tournament matches done. And right after this is done, I will be going into one of those matches. So hope you guys all enjoy that particular match, because I'll be the second match I will be showing. I'll be advertising that next week and probably the week after. But it's going to be a good time. We're going to have a lot of fun with this tournament, and I'm looking forward to it. Mike Gonzalez, thoughts on Goldberg versus Drew? Why? That's my thoughts. Why are they doing this? If your main problem is that nobody is built up enough, like if the WWE writers are like, nobody is built up enough to face Drew, well, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? That you 50-50 book everybody, that nobody's important. Whose fault is that? It's what happens when you have to bring in other people to face your champion because nobody is ready. I said it yesterday on the Gridiron Grapple, Big G show. Have a battle royal or something. Book a match. Book a number one contenders match. Something. Why? Because my fear is Goldberg's going to win the WWE title. Goldberg winning the WWE title would have been cool 18 years ago. That's when it would have been cool. It's run its course now. He's won the World Heavyweight title in 2003. He won the Universal title twice. He doesn't need the WWE Championship. Crying out loud, if you're going to put it on Goldberg, you should have put it on Sting 6 years ago. Just why? And the thing, I don't hate Goldberg. I just don't see. When he came back in 2016, he faced Lesnar. That was fine. Heck, even all the way through him losing the title to Lesnar at WrestleMania, that match was enjoyable. I didn't need to see Goldberg after that. I didn't. It was not that big a deal to me to see Goldberg again because it was cool to see him again. He got his Hall of Fame induction. That's all. That's all I needed. If he loses to Drew, that's fine. Because then maybe the winner of the Rumble can face him. But my goodness, if Goldberg holds the title from the Rumble to WrestleMania again, he doesn't need it. And Mike Gonzalez says, I think Goldberg's contract is that he has 2 or 3 matches a year till 2023. Well, why do they have to be title matches? Why can't he just have like a dream match against somebody? Like, do Goldberg and Roman whenever Roman loses the Universal title. Like do that. Don't. It makes no sense to put him in a championship match. Because the more you put Goldberg in a championship match, the less important the rest of your roster seems. When you put part-time guys in championship matches at major events, the guys who work on your roster, you're basically taking a piss on. It's like, you guys aren't big enough. You guys aren't big enough to earn a championship match. It doesn't matter how hard you work. We're just going to keep bringing in legends to get these championship shots to pop a rating. Maybe if you wrote creatively and you didn't stick to formulaic storylines, you'd be able to retain an audience, and then the people on your main roster would be the stars, and you wouldn't have to rely on guys from the 90s. You ever think about that? It drives me insane, if you can't tell. Again, I don't hate Goldberg. That's not what this is about. I just hate the fact that WWE likes to book themselves into corners, and then they can't find a way out. They panic, and they do this. And they do it at the expense of somebody who is popular, somebody who does well. It's frustrating. They did it to The Fiend last year. They're going to do it to Drew again this year. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling Goldberg's winning the title. Anybody out there would be like, oh, there's no way they could do that. Well, guess what? You were wrong. They did it. Goldberg's going to beat Drew in like 3 minutes at the Rumble, win the WWE title, and defend it at WrestleMania. Point blank. It's so frustrating. Daniel, if Tessa Blanchard is signed to WWE and is a surprise entrant in the Women's Rumble match, what number would you see her enter in, and do you think she would win? That would definitely be big. Honestly, if Tessa were to face Sasha, then yes, I would have her win, because my goodness, that match would be incredible. I would have her enter pretty late. Maybe like 29 or something. Not 30. 30 would be too obvious. Have her enter like 29th. Have her win. Last eliminate Charlotte. And go on and challenge Sasha for the title. If she were to enter. I'm not making that prediction. But if she did do that, that's how I would book it. Sasha Banks, Tessa Blanchard, WrestleMania. Hell, that sumbitch could main event. We might be getting Sheamus versus Drew at Mania. I mean, that would be okay. I'd rather it be for the title. I'd rather it be that Drew is still champion. But I don't know. We will see what happens. I know it's a short episode, but I got trivia to record in about 15 minutes. So I'd like to thank all of you for joining me here on the Greg Cherry Show. And we will see you next week. We'll see you next week for not only the Greg Cherry Show, but also for the return of the Wrestling Trivia Challenge Championship Tournament. So until next time, thank you guys all for watching. I am, of course, Greg Cherry. You've been watching The Greg Cherry Show. And until next time, we'll see you later.